what you do. And we just thank you for allowing us to be able to worship you on your day without any restrictions. For we know there are many brothers and sisters who's going through tribulations to worship you on this day. And we intercede and stand in the gap on their behalf. We also pray for those brothers and sisters who went through trials and tribulations throughout the week. Some are getting pressure or even lost their job. Some are having family issues. Some are having sickness in their bodies. Some lost loved ones throughout the week. We ask that you comfort them, for you know their need. And use us as a vessel to bring light, to bring the Messiah into their world, to comfort one another. And Father Elohim, we also ask for forgiveness of anything that we did throughout the week that was unpleasing to you. Any unclean thoughts, any words that were spoken, any deeds or actions that was against your law, statutes, and commandments. We repent and ask for forgiveness through the blood of your Son, Yeshua, who cleanses us. And we thank you for sending your Son, Yeshua, to this earth to show us the way back to the Father, to you. For without him, we would be lost. And Father Elohim, as we worship you on your day, as we magnify your name on your day, as we glorify you on your day, we ask that you send your Ruach down to dwell among us, to minister to us, to bring into memory your laws, statutes, and commandments, to comfort us. And this we ask in your Son, Yeshua's name. Hallelujah. 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 Yah, we thank you. Yah, we thank you. Yah, we thank you. Yah, we thank you. Yah, we thank. Yah, we love you. Yah, we love you. Yah, we love you. Yah, we love you. Yah, we love. Yah, we praise you. 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 Hallelujah. 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 All right. So you may be seated. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the lesson. But I did want to take the time to see if there was any personal testimonies that anyone would like to give before we get started.
First, I'd like to thank y'all for allowing my husband and I for being here today to see this day. This is always a good thing. My testimony is I was offered a job that I
Right.
full time. So
All right.
yeah, he just it was yeah. It couldn't be nobody else because I wasn't looking. I said
Right.
okay. And each time that I had to fill out papers or something online or whatever, and I said okay, I'll just fill it out. Starting from again, I said I just fill out. Okay, I'll go ahead and apply, but I'm not really sure if I'm going to get the job. So I was like, well, I filled everything out and sent it in, and I said surely they probably not gonna call me till next week. So the Holy Spirit was saying, check your email. I was like, it was like 8:40 something in the morning. You know, I'm working. Kept saying, check your email. I said, no, I ain't getting nothing back that quick. Check the email about 11 o'clock, and I say, honey, they said they want me for this position. They want to give me an interview. So I interviewed with the HR, and HR said, okay, well, it'll be about 2 weeks. We'll let you know what's going on about 2 weeks. The next day, I get an email from HR saying the managers want an interview with me. I was like, just shaking my head. I was like, that is fast. I mean,
Right.
I said, got to be yeah, because I didn't ask for it, but he knows what I need.
Right.
And to make a long story short, I guess I had to put it out in the atmosphere. I said, yeah, you know, I need a certain amount of money. So when I retire, I got to make a certain amount of money, you know, because they give you so little when you retire. And it ain't time yet, but I was like thinking ahead. I said, I need to make a certain amount of money before I retire. And he blessed me with that already. So I accepted the job. I won't start till the 18th. I think it's the 18th. And I just want to tell y'all that, yeah, he knows what we need when we need it. And just be faithful and be careful what you ask for because you will get it. For me, anyway, I was just shocked. I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, I wasn't looking. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Hallelujah. Praise the Most High. Any others? Yeah. Right.
On my job was saying, what can you do? Is there anything that we can do to keep you here? Or is then my manager, my supervisor say, I want to ask you, is it doing the same thing? You can say, I don't want to talk about it. I said, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, most of the time they do a counter just to keep you.
Yeah. They can't match it because after my training, I could start working as early as 6:30. So it'll be 6:30 to 2:30 will be my hours. Right now
Nice.
it's from 8 to 5. And
Right.
I've been doing it for a couple of years. I'm just like, I'm sick of it. Because they make us work that long. I mean, it's not necessary when you're processing claims. But for the type of the business, I guess they say somebody got to work to 5. You know, something could come up or something has to be processed or whatever. But I don't like it. I've been a claim examiner for many years, and we always have flex time. So, but yeah, he did bless me with the job I am now, and I appreciate that. But the timing is just off. The timing is off.
Right. Hallelujah. Praise the Most High. All right. Say, won't he do it? Won't he do it? All right. All right. So the title of this is called The Serpent's Flood. So during Tabernacle Week, we had a Bible study, and we went over kind of Revelation chapter 1. And I said I would do sort of a Revelation series, which means I still have to finish Daniel, but y'all willing, I'll do it after the Revelation series. Because it sparked a lot of questions. And one of the things I was saying about the book of Revelation is that if you don't understand who the people are and what's going on in Revelation, it makes it very difficult to understand why the things in Revelation is happening, because they're happening to God's people. right? So one of the things what makes Revelation very difficult for some people is because they don't understand the Old Testament or the Tanakh, or they just do away with the Old Testament or the Tanakh. And what comes to memory is I remember me and Brother Gerald, we were talking to an individual, and he was considered as far as a Christian, but didn't read or said that the Old Testament is done away with. And then we got on the subject of Revelation, and he said, oh, no, don't read that book because Revelation is just too hard to understand. And the reason it's too hard to understand because he's done away with the Old Testament, right? So if you don't know what's in a Tanakh, you're going to have trouble with Revelation. Because all Revelation is pointing to the prophets in the Tanakh, right? So we're going to talk about this serpent flood. And you're going to start off in the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 1. The book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 1. And the last time I went over this, we stopped with this chapter, and I said I'd go more in depth of this. All right.
So the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 1.
You turn the blue one down a little peg. Is it connected to the laptop? Okay.
Verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
All right, so this is John, right? He's having a vision. And one of the things about the book of Revelation, it has to do with imagery and also symbolism, right? A lot of it has to do with imagery and symbolism. All right, keep going.
Verse 2.
All right, so let's go back. So the woman was clothed with what? The sun, right? The sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head is a crown of what? So what does the sun represent? I like that when I want to answer my questions. All right, so let's go to Genesis chapter 37. Genesis chapter 37. So this is another imagery and symbolism. Quick question, where's John at when he has this vision? Patmos, he's at the island of Patmos, right? Okay. Verse 9. Are you ready, Nick?
Yes, sir. And he dreamed yet another dream, and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisances to me.
So this is Joseph, right? So Joseph is having a dream, right? And when he says obeisances, what does that mean? Reverence, but what kind of action? Bowing down, right? So read that one more time, Nick.
Verse 9. And he dreamed yet another dream,
Right?
and told it his brethren, and said, Behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisances to me.
They all bow down to him. Go ahead.
Verse 10. He told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, What is this dream that thou hast dreamed? Shall I and my mother and thy brethren indeed come to bow down ourselves to thee.
So Jacob already knew what that meant, right? When he mentioned it. So the sun and the moon would represent who? The father and mother, right? And the 11 stars would represent who? His brothers, right? So Joseph has given this dream. And now if we go back to Revelation chapter 12, verse 1 again. And if you can read verse 1 one more time, Nick.
Verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven,
Right,
a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet,
right,
and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
okay.
And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered.
All right, so she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered, right? All right, keep going.
Verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
All right, so I want to go back to verse 2. And she being with child cried out. Who do you think that she is? So we know it has to do with imagery and symbolism. The church? Yeah. It's good. Good guess. Anyone else? Mary? Could be Mary, right? Man, I like these studies. I love these studies. All right. What would you say? Could be Israel? Yeah, so it is actually Israel. So this is an imagery or a symbolism of Israel, right? So, and she, Israel, being with child, cried, travailing in birth and pain, and delivered. Who do you think she delivered? Yeshua, right? So Yeshua came out of the tribe of Israel, right? Representing Israel. You guys are with me? All right, perfect. All right, verse 3 again, Nick.
Verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head.
All right, so we hit another symbolism, imagery, right? This is not a real physical great red dragon, right? Or you think it is? Who do you think this is? Hasatan? Somewhat right. Let's go to Ezekiel. Let's go to Ezekiel to see if we can help you out. Ezekiel 29, verse 3. Ezekiel 29, verse 3.
Sir, the book Ezekiel, chapter 29, verse 3. Speak and say, thus says my sovereign, Yahuwah, behold, I am against thee, Pharaoh, king of Egypt.
He's against who? Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Go ahead.
The great dragon that lieth in the midst of his rivers, which had said, my river is my own, and I have made it for myself.
All right, so he's considered a what? A great what? A great dragon, right? So now let's go back to Revelation. Chapter 12, verse 3.
Verse 3. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his head.
All right, so who do you think represented this great red dragon? Who tried to kill the Messiah as a baby?
Pharaoh.
No, not Pharaoh. Herod.
Herod.
King Herod, right? So when we see this great red dragon, we know he's being influenced by who? Satan. That's a ton, all right? So this book is filled with imagery. This is what I wanted to cover this whole series of Revelation. Full of imagery, right? But the only way we can go is if we go to the Tanakh, right? This is why he had a problem with Revelation. He's like, it's too hard to understand. Because you have to go to the Tanakh to understand what the book of Revelation is talking about, right? So we use Joseph as an example to explain the sun, moon, and the stars, right? We use Ezekiel to understand who's this red dragon, right? All right, let's keep going, Nick. Verse 4.
Verse 4. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered.
Right?
For to devour her child as soon as it was born.
So where did the Messiah go when he was born? To flee from the dragon. To where? Egypt, right? All right, keep going.
Verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto Elohim and to his throne.
So now it kind of fast forward, right? So this whole purpose of Revelation is that the dragon is trying to stop prophecy, right? He's trying to stop prophecy because he knows that if prophecy gets fulfilled, his days are numbered, right? So if I know the Messiah is going to be born, what if I kill him? If I kill him, the prophecy can't be fulfilled, right? And this is the purpose that I mentioned the book of Revelation. You have to know who the people is. Because if you don't know who the people is, Satan is next is going to try to kill each and every Israelite. Because if he can do that, he can stop prophecy from happening. Right? All right, keep going.
Verse 6. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had placed a place prepared of Elohim, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
Right. And we're going to get more into this, because almost every particular, I was just looking at this, I was like, man, I want to talk more about this, but this is going to be a whole nother subject, right? This place of safety. And it's not what a lot of people teach, right? Because the Bible doesn't really state where this place of safety is. But you do have teachers out there who teach that this wilderness, this place of safety, this is where we're going to need to go. But we're going to get more into that. All right? All right, keep going.
Verse 7. And there was war in heaven. Michael.
Oh, skip down to verse 13. Verse 13.
Verse 13. And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman, which brought forth the man-child.
All right. So when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted who? The who? Who is the woman? Israel, right? Keep going with that.
Verse 14. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent. All
right, so this is going to be probably the next subject. We're going to talk about this verse, right? This wilderness doctrine, okay? So when the dragon saw that he is cast into the earth, he persecuted Israel, which brought forth the Messiah, right? Verse 14.
Just read it, 14.
Yeah, read it one more time.
Read it, like I said.
All right.
And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time from the face of the serpent.
All right. So Israel is protected, right, for 3.5 years. Verse 15.
And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman.
All right, so this is the subject, right? The serpent's flood, right? And because you have to understand this, without this flood, there's no beast, no system, no Babylon system. There's no mark of the beast. Because I'm going to show you that how important this flood is, all right? Because without this flood, you cannot enforce any of this stuff. All right. So verse 15, and the serpent cast out his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. Right? So let's go to, that's 15. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 59. Isaiah chapter 59. We're going to get more information on what this flood is. And we'll pick it up at verse 16. Isaiah chapter 59, verse 16. And if you guys have any questions along the way, I want to make sure I address everything. Isaiah chapter 59, verse 16.
Yes, sir. Isaiah 59, verse
16.
16. And he saw that there was no man, and wondered that there was no intercessor. Therefore his arm brought salvation unto him, and his righteousness it sustained him. For he put on righteousness as a breastplate, and an helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with zeal as a cloak.
All right, keep going.
According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay. Fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense.
All right, so in verse 18, according to their deeds, right? If they're wicked, he will repay fury to his adversaries, his enemies, recompense to his enemies, and to the islands he will repay recompense, right? Verse 19.
Verse 19.
Okay, go on. No, verse 19, we haven't read that one.
So shall they fear the name of Yahuwah from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Yahuwah shall lift up a standard against him.
All right, so this is the same termination in Revelation. When the enemy comes in like a what? Flood. So what would make the enemy come in like a flood? Meaning what? Huh? Doctrine? Kind of war, yeah, war. We're going to keep going. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 46, verse 1. See if we can clear it up a little bit more. Because the enemy is going to come in like a flood. It says Satan released the flood. Jeremiah 46, verse 1.
Sir, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 46, verse 1. The word of Yahuwah which came to Jeremiah the prophet against the Gentiles.
Against who? The Gentiles, right? Go ahead.
Against Egypt, against the army of Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, which was by the river Euphrates in Carchemish, which Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, smote in the 4th year of Jeroboam, the son of Josiah, king of Judah.
All right.
Order ye the buckler and the shield, and draw near to battle.
It says, order ye the buckler and the shield, and draw near to what? Battle, right? Go ahead.
Harness the horses, and get up the horsemen. Get up, ye horsemen, and stand forth with your helmets. Furbish the spears, and put on brigandines.
All right, so what kind of people put on shields, get their horses ready, the helmets on? Soldiers, right? So we're talking about a military or army, right? All right, so this is what's going on here, right? Getting the military, the army ready. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Wherefore have I seen them dismayed and turned away back.
Skip down to verse 7. Let's see what they're getting ready to do, right?
Who is this that cometh up as a flood, whose waters are moved as the rivers?
All right, so when you say who is this come up like a flood, who's coming up like a flood? The army, the military, right? Get your helmets right. Get your shields ready. Sharpen up your spears. Put the saddles on the horses. They're coming in with the army. And when they come in and with the army, they call it a what? A flood. So now in the book of Revelations, when Israel flee because they are afraid of the dragon, because the dragon is sending his flood, which means he's sending who? His army, right? So this is what I was talking about, right? Without this army, there's no tribulation. There's no mark of the beast. There is no prophecy that's going to be fulfilled, because in order to force someone to do something, you have to have a what? A military army. So when Satan fell and the stars with him, he found out I only have a little wall. So I'm going to go after Israel with a flood, which means a whole worldwide army to enforce my religion, my seal, my mark, and it can only do this with the flood, right? Nick, what verse was that?
That was
7?
7.
Okay, verse 8.
Egypt riseth up like a flood, and its waters are moved like the rivers. And he said, I will go up and will cover the earth.
So just like a flood covers everything, right? He said, I'm going to send so many people in this army, this military, it's going to look just like a flood, right? Go ahead.
I will destroy the city and the inhabitants thereof.
So that means he's going in with a large army. And as that flood keep moving forward, people are going to keep dying. All right? You guys got it? Perfect. Jeremiah chapter 47, verse 1. Next chapter over.
Verse 1. The word of Yahuwah that came to Jeremiah, the prophet, against the Philistines, before that Pharaoh smote Gaza. Verse 2. Thus said Yahuwah, behold, waters rise up out of the north.
So you think he's talking about literal water? Or army, right? So this is what I was talking about with Revelation, right? For the people who do away with the Old Testament, how is it possible for them to know what the serpent flood is? They can't. So they make up some things to make it sound good when you have to, line by line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, right? All right, keep going, Nick.
And shall be an overflowing flood, and shall overflow the land, and all that is therein, the city, and them that dwell therein. Then the men shall cry, and all the inhabitants of the land shall howl.
They're going to howl because the army is killing everyone, right? Verse 3.
At the noise of the stamping of the hooves of his strong horses, at the rushing of his chariots, and at the rumbling of his wheels.
So they sending in a massive army in, right? Go ahead.
The fathers shall not look back to their children for feebleness of hands, because of the day that cometh to spoil all the Philistines and to cut off from Tyrus.
Did y'all see that? It says, when they come in like a flood, these chariots, these wheels, all these horses, strong horses, stampede and hoof, right? It said the fathers are going to be so scared, they did not look back on their children for feebleness of hands, for shakiness of hands. This is how this was. Keep going.
And to cut off from Tyrus and Zidon every helper that remaineth. For Yahuwah will spoil the Philistines, the remnant of the country of Caphtor.
Yeah, so all those in verse 4 is the cities of the Philistines, which they were talking about, right? Let's go to Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. Daniel chapter 9, verse 25.
Book of Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, the Prince, shall be 7 weeks.
Right?
And 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times.
Verse 26.
And after 62 weeks shall Messiah be cut off.
So Messiah shall be killed, right? Go ahead.
But not for himself. And the people of the prince shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with the flood.
Say with the what? All right, so this is already happened, right? So when the Messiah was cut off, when the Messiah died, right? Who came in like a flood in the first century? Who? Anyone? Say it 70 AD, right? According to Daniel, he prophesied that after the Messiah has been cut off, right? There should be a flood. All right.
Titus.
Man, I love this. I love this. All right, let's go to Luke. Luke chapter 21.
Titus?
Huh?
Titus?
Yeah.
Okay.
Luke chapter 21. And we'll pick it up at verse 5. Let me see. Yes. Luke 21, verse 5.
Verse 5. And some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts.
All right, so you had his apostles coming out the temple and was like, man, this is a temple. Have you seen anything so beautiful, like this temple, right? Go ahead.
He said, as for these things which ye behold.
Who's talking here?
Messiah.
Yeshua, right? Go ahead.
The days will come in the which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down.
So this temple, he's saying a day is going to come when this temple is going to be destroyed, right? Not one stone will be left upon another. Go ahead.
And they asked him, saying, Master, but when shall these things be? And what sign would there be when these things shall come to pass?
So he's saying, when is this going to happen? When is this temple going to be destroyed like he said it was going to be destroyed? Skip down to verse 21.
Verse 21. Then let them which are in Judea flee to the mountains, and let them which are in the midst of it depart out. And let not them that are in the countries.
I'm sorry, let's go verse 20. Verse 20.
Verse 20.
Yeah. He said, they asked the question, when is this going to be, right? Go ahead.
And when ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
So he said, when you see Jerusalem surrounded, right, with armies, then know that the destruction, which I just mentioned on the temple, is about to happen. What armies was a compass surrounded Jerusalem? The Romans, right? So this is what Daniel was saying the flood is, right? So after his death, they were talking about 70 AD. All right? So Jerusalem will be destroyed with the flood. And if you guys read the history of that, the Roman army surrounded Jerusalem, didn't let anyone in, didn't let anyone out, right? And they sort of starved them to death. They built trenches all around it. Yes, sir? Right. Right, exactly. So you see how Daniel said, be destroyed like a flood, right? So we're going to see the serpent flood. Now let's go to Revelation chapter 13, verse 1. Revelation chapter 13, verse 1.
Verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns.
What did we read this before? 7 heads and 10 horns. Verse 12, right? Same Hasatan, right? But now he's talking about a beast. Go ahead.
And upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat and great authority.
All right. So, man, there's a lot here. Honestly, I'm going to ask this. All right. So we're talking about a single beast, right? A single beast. And the single beast has 7 heads and 10 horns, right? Just like the red dragon that we talked about, right? Right. Crowns. We're going to get to that too. So that means it belongs to Satan. Okay, keep going. So, yeah, keep going.
Verse 3.
Well, let me go back. I'm going to go back. All right. Here's what I want to explain. So this beast that he saw was like unto a leopard. His feet was as the feet of a bear. His mouth was as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power in his seat and great authority. There's a lot here. I want to explain this. All right, so this beast, what is this leopard, this bear, this lion? What does that represent? Different what? Nations, right? But this beast, the nations are combined to what? One. What did we hear about these beasts somewhere else? Did we hear about somewhere else? Daniel, right? So let's go there, Nick. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 1. Because in Daniel chapter 7, verse 1, they're all separate. But when we get to Revelation, they're all combined. Make sense? What is the reason the reason why they will be all combined? New world order, but we talked about it a little earlier. Huh? The flood, the military, right? So for you to have a superpower military, they will all have to be combined. So no matter where you think you're going to escape to, that flood, that army is going to be there. So when you said that one world order, it has to happen. Satan, when he's drawn down, he's going to combine all of these worlds, these nations together to go after the children of Israel, right? It ain't going to be like what they're talking about today. Oh, let's flee to Africa. No. That one world order is going to be there, right? Oh, let's go back to the land of Israel. It's going to be there too. All right? There's no escaping, but we got people that say, like, we need to go here, we need to flee here. Right? There's no getting rid of this. Go ahead, Nick. Daniel chapter 7, verse 1.
Verse 1. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters.
All right.
Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea.
All right, when he talks about four winds, right? He's talking about north, south, east, and west. He's talking about worldwide, right? Keep going.
And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Right.
The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings, therefore, were plucked.
So you remember in Revelation, the lion, right? All right, keep going.
No, thereof were plucked, I'm sorry.
All right. We're
And
talking
it
about
was
the Babylon Empire. Go ahead.
And it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man. And a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear.
So this is separate, right? They're not combined like in the book of Revelation. A separate nation, right? Go ahead.
And it raised up itself on one side. And it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, in between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh.
All right, so this bear represents the Mede and the Persian Empire, right? Keep going.
After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard.
All right,
which
the leopard, who knows what the leopard is? The Grecians Empire. Go ahead.
which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
What do you think that 4 heads represent? Yes, that's what I was listening. All right. 4 generals, right? Who was the king before the 4 generals? Alexander the Great. All right, keep going.
Verse 7. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
All right, so this would be the Roman Empire, right? So now let's go back to Revelations. So in Revelation, they're combined. He saw one beast where all the nations came together. Revelation 13. And start off with verse 2 again, Nick.
Yes, sir. Verse 2. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority.
All right, so in the dragon gave him his power, his seat, and great authority. Where's his seat? Where's Satan's seat? Where does he sit at? Huh? Pergamos, right? So this is where Satan sit at, in Pergamos. Yeah, you can read it in Revelation chapter 1. The 7 churches, right? And it says where Satan's seat is at. Another question. Where is Pergamos? Where is it located? Turkey, right? So you knew that, right? Modern day Turkey. All right? This is where Satan's seat is at. Another question. What religion is in modern day Turkey?
Islam.
Islam. All right, let's keep going. All right, that was verse 3, right? Revelation 13, verse 3. Did we finish it?
No, that was 2 I just read.
Oh, 2? Okay, keep going.
Verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast.
Which meaning it came back, right? Somehow this religious system was dead, or seemed to be dead, but it's still making its way back, right? Keep going.
Verse 4. And they worshiped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
Right. So who is like unto the beast and to make war with him? Because we know that this beast, army, war means you have a military unit, which means it's going to go after Israel, right? In my book, in my teaching of Revelation, man, there's just so many false teachers out there. This one world system has to happen first with this first beast. There's a second beast. And the second beast is the one that's going to push the mark of the beast. All right? So people are saying, oh, this is the mark of the beast, this is the mark of the beast. Do we have one world government? No, we're not combined. This beast system, this first beast, and we're going to get into this with the series, right? I mean, I listen to these teachers, I'm like, they like, this is the mark of the beast. Show me where the entire world is combined in this one army, right? And we're going to get into this teaching, right? So you can understand that you don't need to fear anything because the scriptures, precept upon precept, it has to happen, right? And we're like, no, this is the mark of the beast. Oh, we need to flee here. We need to go here. Man, scripture doesn't support that. No, that's not. That person doesn't have all the military control. When it's this one world system that happens, you'll know it when it happens, right? Because it says 10 horns, right? That was the difference, which means all the nations. These 10 horns represent 10 kings, right? And they're united. So when it happens, the army, because right now we still have a war. There's China, Russia against the United States. When all this happened, you won't hear it. It'll be all combined. And their only job would be to go after those who has a testimony of Yeshua and keep the commandments. So this is the first beast. And you'll hear nothing with the first beast about the mark. But when you hear the second beast coming, this is going to be the mouthpiece, right? He is going to push that everyone make an image of the first beast, and everyone bow down to the first beast, and everyone get the mark of the first beast. We're going to get more into that. All right, keep going, Nick. That was verse 4?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Verse 5.
Well, so who's able to make war with the beast, right? Why do you think people is going to fear this military? Kind of like that, but they're going to end up taking a mark out of what? Fear. Out of fear. Right now we got this little thing. You might not be able to keep your job out because of COVID. And people are getting a shot out of what? Fear of keeping a job. It's going to be keeping your life, right? Yes, ma'am. A COVID question? Are you saying if it's not the mark? Yeah. Yeah, I just see this as the system being set up, right? The system being set up. So when it really happens, everything is in place. All right. Yeah. All right. All right. What verse was that, Nick? Oh, I was talking about the fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when we do things out of fear? Irrational decisions. What if we go against the scripture because of fear? What happens to us as far as law, statutes, and commandments?
Like a fire.
Lake of fire. Let's go to Luke chapter 1, verse 50 real quick. Keep your finger there, but we're going to go to Luke chapter 1, verse 50. Yeah, chapter 1, verse 50. When you ready, Nick?
Yes, sir. Luke chapter 1, verse 50.
Right.
And his mercy is on them that fear him from generation to generation.
So we are to fear who? The Most High, right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 10, verse 28. Yeah, chapter 10, verse 28.
Matthew 10, verse 28.
Yep.
And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body into Gehenna.
Who should we fear? Most High. Gehenna is basically the place, and we're going to get into that, right, where the lake of fire is, right, and is in Israel, and you'll be able to see them when you go down there, right, Gehenna. So who should we fear? What do we fear? The person who can kill the body. Let's get that. Let's go to Revelation chapter 2, Revelation chapter 21, verse 8. Yeah, Revelations 21, verse 8. Yes, sir. Yeah, fire can mean sort of imagery and symbolism too also. And we're going to get into that too, fire. All right. When we get to the two witnesses, I'm teaching on that too. Yeah. All right, Nick.
Verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake, which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
You see that fearful, right? But the fearful. The only person we should fear is who?
No, sir.
If we put our fear anywhere else. Oh, so he was asking the question, if fire means fire, or can it represent something else? Yeah, right, kind of something. Yeah. And I said we're going to get into that too with fire. All right, so the fearful, if you fear anything other than the Most High, it's the lake of fire. If you say, I took that mark because I didn't want to die, I took that mark because I wanted to keep, feeding my family. I didn't know how well I was going to support my family. That means you fear man rather than Most High, right? All right, let's keep going. So Revelation chapter 13, verse 5.
Verse 5. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
Who gave him his power? Satan, all right? Go ahead, verse 6.
And he opened his mouth and blasphemed against Yahuwah, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints.
So here, power was given unto him, meaning Satan gave his authority, his power unto the beast, right? To make war with the who? Saints, right? Go ahead.
And to overcome them.
What does it mean to overcome them? To kill them, right? Not everyone is going to make it out the tribulation. All right? Go ahead.
And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations.
It says power was given to some of the kindreds, tongues, and nations. All nations. This is that flood I'm talking about, right? Every nation. He had power for it. This beast represent all nations. It was all combined into one. And once it's combined into one, he has control over all the armies and military. Right? Go ahead.
And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world.
So it doesn't matter where you go. You go to London, you go to the Caribbean islands, you go to China, you go to Africa, you go to Israel. All nations, all right? Unless there's some divine intervention. And we're going to get more into that when we get to the two witnesses. All right, keep going.
Verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear.
Well, let's skip this. Let's go to Revelation chapter 17. Revelation chapter 17. We'll pick it up at verse 1. Revelation 17, verse 1.
Verse 1. There came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying, Unto me, come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
All right. So, actually, we're going to get into this too. So, who's the great whore? This mystery Babylon, right? And what religious system were they pushing? And I did a teaching maybe like 3 months ago, but we can kind of cover it high level. Again, this great whore, this mystery Babylon, all right? But this mystery Babylon sits on the beast, right? So this religion is controlling the beast. When I say the beast represents who? All nations, right? So when you sit on a horse and the rider sits on a horse, he's controlling the what? Horse, telling him to turn here, go faster, turn there, right? So this mystery Babylon person is controlling the beast, the system, this religion, right? Which gives her control over the military. We're going to get more into that too. Mystery Babylon. All right, keep going, Nick.
Verse 2. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Right, so the people are the kings, right? Worship the great whore, right? Worship the religious system. All right, keep going.
Verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So we see this woman is sitting on the beast, right? This is what I was talking about, right? Which means she's controlling the beast, right? The whole system. Go ahead.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls.
So this religious system has money, has a lot of money, all right? Very rich. Go ahead.
Having a golden cup in her hand full of abomination and filthiness of her fornication.
All right.
And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints.
And in verse 5, right, we're going to touch a little bit on this. Mystery Babylon. Just offhand, why do you think it call it Mystery Babylon? Not quite. Not quite. Oh man, I like this. I love this. This is great. All right, we're gonna get into a little bit. Why this system is called Mystery Babylon? All right, keep going there.
Verse 6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua.
What's a martyr? A witness, right? Someone who died for a cause. And a cause is for your belief in the Messiah and keeping the commandments. All right, keep going.
And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration.
Wonder with great admiration. All right, let's get a little bit more of why they call it Mystery Babylon, right? Why is Babylon, it's called Babylon the Great? Let's look into who Babylon was, right? Let's go to Genesis chapter 10, verse 1. Genesis chapter 10, verse 1.
So the book of Genesis, chapter 10, verse 1.
Right.
Now these are the nations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Unto them were sons born after the flood.
All right, so sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, right? Skip down to verse 6.
Verse 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan.
So we're going from Ham, and then we're going to go to Cush, right? Skip down to verse 8.
And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
So Nimrod was a mighty one in the earth, right? Keep going.
He was a mighty hunter before Yahuwah. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod the mighty hunter before Yahuwah. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
What do you think Babel stands for? Confusion. Give me another name. Babylon, right? Which means confusion. Good. All right, keep going.
And Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar.
All right, in the land of where? Shinar, right? He began his kingdom in Babel or Babylon, right? Hey, Nick, you got Jasher? No, I got it here.
Yeah, Josh.
Okay, book of Jasher, chapter 10. No, 7. Book of Jasher, chapter 7. We're going to get a little more information on this, why he call it Mystery Babylon.
What verse?
Pick it up at verse 31.
Book of Jasher, chapter 7, verse 31. And Nimrod strengthened himself.
Hold on, Nick, let me get that. That was
Yes, sir.
the wrong one. All right.
Verse 31. And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up against his brethren. And he fought the battles of his brethren against all their armies round about.
All right, so against all their armies are enemies round about, right? So Nimrod, Babylon, was fighting other nations, okay? You with me? All right, keep going.
32. And Yahuwah delivered all the enemies of his brethren in his hands. And Elohim prospered him from time to time in his battles, and he reigned upon the earth.
All right, so as Nimrod conquered, he got his strength increased, right? Keep going.
Therefore, it became current in those days when a man ushered forth those that he had trained up for battle. He would say to them, like Elohim did to Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter in the earth, and who succeeded in the battles that prevailed against his brethren, that he delivered them from the hands of their enemies. So may Elohim strengthen us and deliver us this day.
So Nimrod was known throughout all the nations as one who was mighty in battle, right? So they would say the same as Nimrod was victorious. May God make us victorious the same way as Nimrod. All right, skip down to verse 44.
And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he
You
reigned.
remember that Shinar? Where's Shinar? In Babylon, right? Keep going. That's where Nimrod reside. Go ahead.
And he reigned securely, and he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them. And he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great.
How did his kingdom become great? The more he conquered, the more he took what? Took over the armies, right? So when he conquered that kingdom, guess whose military is under? So his military is getting bigger, bigger, and bigger, right? Keep going.
And all nations and tongues heard of his fame, and they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth, and they brought him offerings.
Who brought him offerings? All these nations, right? Bow down to who? To him, which means he has control over who? All these nations, which means he has control over all their what? Armies and militaries, right? Was that, did you finish it?
No, sir.
Okay, go on.
And he became their Lord and King, and they all dwelt with him in the city at Shinar. And Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel.
Over some of the sons of Noah. All the sons of Noah. And all the kings dwelt where? In Shinar, in Babylon, right? So he was king over the entire what? Earth. So when we talk about Mystery Babylon, the one beast was control over the entire what? Earth. Let's see another example of this. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 27. Babylon, Mystery Babylon. What country? That was the nation, Babylon. And Shinar was a city inside of Babylon. Oh, Babylon region, more northern of Israel. Yeah, northern, east. Does it have pop it? You good? 27.
Verse.
Yeah, I was thinking about bouncing somewhere else real quick, but I'll save it for later. Maybe I'll do it now. So I covered it last week, so the guys that was at Granbury might know. when this whole tribulation, this revelation is going on, we're going to be gathered, right? And we're going to be in the land. How's Israel going to get cleared out for us? How are the people in Israel going to get cleared out for us? Because if we used to take over the land, all right, no, maybe I should save it for later, because it's going to come with the other teaching. We talk about the regathering of Israel before the Messiah come. Because before the Messiah come, well, not really. We're going to be in the land. How is the land going to be cleared for us? How are the people going to be out the land? Huh? Death. They're going to go to war? I'll give you a little sample, Let's go to Isaiah. Keep your finger here. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 50. I'm sorry, Jeremiah chapter 50. Jeremiah chapter 50. We'll pick it up at verse 1.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah 50, verse 1.
Right.
The word that Yahuwah spake against Babylon.
Did we just got to talking about Babylon? I wonder if this the Nebuchadnezzar Babylon, or is the one they're talking about in Revelation? Let's find out. All right, keep going.
And against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet.
Right?
Declare ye among the nations, and publish and set up a standard. Publish and conceal not. Say, Babylon is taken.
Babylon is taken, right? Go ahead.
Baal is confounded. Merodach is broken in pieces. Her idols are confounded. Her images are broken in pieces.
Right?
For out of the north there cometh a nation against her.
Out of the where? The north against her, right? Keep going.
Which shall make her land desolate, and none shall dwell therein. They shall remove, they shall depart, both man and beast.
And it says, and none shall dwell therein, right? Keep going. Who's coming? Where's this nation coming from? Out of the north, right? Go ahead.
Verse 4. In those days, and in that time, said Yahuwah, the children of Israel shall come.
So the children of Israel shall come when the land is cleared out by who? The army from where?
North.
The north, right? Go ahead.
The children of Israel shall come, they and the children of Judah together.
Anyone know when Israel and Judah ever came together? It hasn't happened yet, right? Oh. So the children of Israel. So this Babylon has to be talking about the Babylon, mystery Babylon in Revelation. Because the north and the southern kingdom, Israel and Judah together, right? Keep going.
Going and weeping, they shall go and seek Yahuwah their Elohim.
We're going to seek out Yahuwah thy Elohim. Keep going.
They shall ask the way to Zion with their faces thitherward.
What's Zion? What's another name for Zion?
Jerusalem.
Jerusalem. Both of Israel and Judah together. Right? This is how we're going to get back into the land. Why is it important? See how I want to word this. Why is it important that we do this together? Community, right? But the Messiah says something very important that you will not see me again until what? Matthew 23. Let's go to Matthew 23 real quick. Matthew 23, verse 39.
Matthew 23, verse 39.
Right?
For I say unto you, ye shall not see me henceforth, till ye shall say, blessed is he that cometh in the name of Yahuwah.
Right? This is important, the reason why we have to be together. This is why the nations have to come together. This is why Judah and Israel together have to go to say, where is Zion? Right? The reason you will not see me again until you say, because we will be in the land, he has not returned yet, but there's something that's going to happen, which we're going to talk about in this Revelation series, that's going to say that when the valley of Jehoshaphat come, we're going to cry out as a people. And this is when the Messiah, Yeshua, will return. His foot is going to step foot on the Mount of Olives because his army is coming against us. Important. This is good. All right. All right, let's get back to it. I took y'all off on a little journey. But Revelation chapter 13, that's where we stopped at net. Or where we stopped at. Oh, we're going to do, okay, another Babylon king, right? Mystery Babylon, Jeremiah chapter 27. Jeremiah chapter 27, verse 5.
Sorry, the book of Jeremiah, chapter 27, verse 5.
Right.
I have made the earth, the man and the beast that are upon the ground, by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom it seemed meet unto me.
All right, so this is, who's talking here? The Most High, right? We're going to talk about this mystery Babylon, just history of Babylon the king, right? I have made the earth and the men and the beasts that are upon the ground, and my great power and my stretched out arm. And we're going to get a little bit more into this stretched out arm. What do you think that means? He wants to give you a hug? When he say my stretched out arm, what do you think it means?
I'm sorry.
Huh? Yeah. I mean, but is it a good thing when he stretch out his arm? Judgment, right? It's judgment, right? He's bringing plagues, pestilence, war, right? All right, keep going, Nick.
Verse 6. And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar.
He gave them to who? Who was Nebuchadnezzar? Nebuchadnezzar, go ahead.
The king of Babylon, my
King of-
servant.
All right, the king of Babylon. We're going to get into a little bit of history of this. What's this mystery Babylon? My servant, right? Go ahead.
And the beast of the field have I given him also to serve him.
All right, keep going.
And all the nations shall serve him.
Some of the nations. All the nations, right? So when Revelation is talking about this mystery Babylon, it's one king, right? Keep going.
All the nations shall serve him and his son and his son's son until the very time of his land come. And then many nations and great kings shall serve themselves in him, of him.
Same thing as Nimrod, right? He has control over all the nations, all the military under his leadership. Let's go to, keep going, Nick.
Which one?
Verse 8. I'm sorry. Jeremiah.
Verse 8.
Yeah.
And it shall come to pass that the nation and kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon.
What is the Most High saying here? All right. He says, I put Nebuchadnezzar in this place. I put him in rulership. And if there's no nation that would not put their neck, right, upon his yoke, keep going, Nick.
The yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, said Yahuwah, with the sword and with the famine, and with the pestilence until I have consumed them by his hand.
By whose hand? By whose hand? It was Nebuchadnezzar's hand, right? He's stretching out his arm, and he's giving that power and authority to Nebuchadnezzar, right? This is that mystery Babylon. We're talking about one king, one system, all nations combined together. That first beast that came out, right? One. Mystery Babylon system. You guys with me? All right, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 34, verse 1. Jeremiah 34, verse 1. We're going to talk about this flood, mystery Babylon.
Verse 1. The word which came unto Jeremiah from Yahuwah, when Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and all his army, and all the kingdoms of the earth of his dominion.
Some of his armies. All right. And some of the kingdoms. All. Okay, keep going.
And all the people fought against Jerusalem and against all the cities thereof, saying.
All right. So was it just Babylon that went up against Jerusalem, Israel? It was all nations. All nations went up against Israel. So when it talks about mystery Babylon, all nations are going to go up against who? Israel. Make sense now? Now, so when we I keep going back to this. When they say they did away with we don't look at that Old Testament. That stuff is done away with, right? When you're looking at this mystery Babylon, you got to tell me, what's the reason for this mystery Babylon? Explain that to me if you can't go to the Tanakh of the Old Testament. This is why it's important. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. We almost finished. 1, 2, 3, 4 more books. Revelation chapter 13, verse 11.
Verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth.
So
And
this is the second what? Second beast, right? Keep going.
And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him.
He says we talk about symbolism again, right? Imagery. He says he looked like a lamb. Why does it tell you he looks like a lamb? Antichrist, but what about him? The Messiah-like, right? He's going to become like the Messiah-like, right? Just like how the Messiah, everything's peaceful, everything's good, love the brother, and so forth, right? But he spoke like a what?
Dragon.
What do you think that means? He spoke like a dragon. Not quite. He's going to talk religious. He's going to say stuff that seems is in the book, but he's going to make you do something that only a dragon can make you do. Worship. We're kind of not worship him, but he's going to tell you to worship the second beast by what? By the first beast, right? By bowing down, making an image, an idol. These are all the things of Satan, all right? Some false god. But he's going to come like Christ-like, right? He's going to be doing miracles, signs, and wonders. He's going to fool a lot of people. All right, keep going.
Verse 12 again. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him.
So this is what I was talking about before, right? The first beast has to come, has to set things up, one world order, just like Nebuchadnezzar, Mystery Babylon. And then the second beast is going to come, and he's going to do these things. Go ahead.
And caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed.
Right? Keep going.
And he do great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men,
All right.
and deceive them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying,
Go ahead.
to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live.
Right. So this second beast who comes, right? Because the first beast is going to be set up. Somehow it's going to be wounded. They're going to think it's like, but it came back up. The first beast, the second beast said, okay, you thought this whole system was dead? No, it's still alive. Now, let's make an image of the first beast. Let's bow down to the first beast. And I'm going to do signs and wonders to get you to do this, right? You're going to think I'm the Christ-like. So when they talk about the false prophet, talking about his presidents and leaders and Roman Catholic Church popes, if they're not doing signs and wonders, they can't be the second beast, right? They're not making fire come down. All right, keep going.
Verse 15. Verse 15.
Yeah.
And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
All right, so now we're talking about this flood. How is he going to make us bow down to this image? An army, right? Without an army, without this flood, can't enforce anything. Keep going.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark.
Right? So before we can get the mark, the first beast system has to be set up. So if the first beast system has to be set up, there's nothing out here that's considered the mark of the beast. Right? Not your social security number, not the COVID shot, not in there. All right, keep going.
Or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
Right, keep going.
Verse 18. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666.
666. Let's go to Revelation chapter 6, verse 9. Revelation chapter 6, verse 9. So this beast is going to force everyone to bow down, make an image, and to receive the mark by how? With the what? With the army, with the flood, right? Go ahead.
Revelation 6, verse 9.
Verse 9.
And when he had opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Elohim and for the testimony which they held.
Right, so when this flood goes out, right, there's going to be some people, some saints, who's going to die because of their belief in the Messiah and keeping the commandments. All right. Keep going.
Verse 10. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Yahuwah, holy and true, do thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell on the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were should be fulfilled.
And who did this killing? The flood, the army, right? That's the only way he's going to enforce it. So when it says that Satan, out of his mouth, released the flood, this is what it's talking about. All right, then we're going to stop there. We'll stop there. Are there any questions, comments? Yes, ma'am. Okay, so the beast, so you saw a beast or come out to sea, right? So this beast is the combined system. All the nations combined into one, all right? The dragon is Hasatan. The beast doesn't have any power unless the dragon gives him his power. So the dragon gave him his seat, his authority, right? And what was it? Great powers, right? So that he can go after those who have the testimony of Yeshua in the command and keeps the law, statutes, and commandments. The false prophet, second beast, right? So he's the mouthpiece, right? He is given powers to do signs and wonders. And because of those, people are going to believe in him, and he is going to look like the lamb, but talk like a dragon. Because the dragon piece is going to tell him to make an image of the first beast, to bow down to the beast in the image, and to also take the mark. Because you will not buy or sell unless you take the mark and make that oath. So it's a good question. So when people are saying, oh, you got the mark of the beast, like today, let's just say the COVID shot. You got the mark of the beast. Did they bow down? Did they make an image? Did they do any of that stuff? Doesn't line up with Scripture, right? So we want to make sure that everything we do line up with Scripture. This is Mystery Babylon. So like with Nebuchadnezzar and so forth, one of those things, they made an image, right? And when all the instruments, the music played, you had to bow down. But there was 3 that didn't, right? So that's why it's Mystery Babylon, because the same system that they set up, where the kings ruled over all nations and had control over all armies, they set up images and had people bow down to them. Same thing, Mystery Babylon. You'll know it. You'll know it, yeah. Correct. Yeah. Antichrist, anyone that gets you to go against the scripts, any teachers get you to go against the scriptures are considered an Antichrist. Yeah. It's kind of twofold, yeah. But the real question is like, when did Judah and Israel come together in that piece right there? That never occurred yet or happened.
You see it more like individuals, like when, kind of like, we know where the tribes came out of the northern kingdom. We know where they were placed at. And then you remember when Hezekiah, some came out of Asher, some came out of the Ephraimites. We talking about as a whole, as a nation between two, but like you said, beautiful and band, when they come together, that's going to come. But we do see where they came out, some from different tribes came out when they did enter back in the land. And not like you said, as a whole.
Correct.
They come out like different people of the tribes.
Right. When we talk about it as a whole, we're talking about like both together. Like, for example, we can go to Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 11. And this will help support that Jeremiah chapter 50.
Isaiah 11, verse 11.
Yep.
And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahuwah shall set his hand again the second time.
When was the first time? Anyone know? We'll keep going. All right, keep going.
The second time to recover the remnant of his people.
The second time to recover the remnant of his people. What was the first time? Egypt. All right, keep going.
Which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea.
Hey, are any of these places on that 12 chart that the Hebrew Israelites use? I just wonder. This is like, because the Bible tells you where they're located, right? All right, keep going, keep going.
Verse 12.
All right,
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations,
all right.
and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah.
So he's going to assemble the outcasts of Israel and the dispersed of Judah, both together, right? Keep going.
From the four corners of the earth.
That's the entire world, right? Keep going.
The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off.
Right?
Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim.
All right, keep going.
And they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west. They shall spoil them of the east together.
Yep.
They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them.
What does it mean to spoil them? Not really take them, but see, the first time, how did they spoil them? In Egypt. Huh? Gold, right? Silver, all this stuff, right? So when we return to the land, it's going to be the second time, going to be the same thing, right? Here's wealth. Right, keep going.
Verse 15. And Yahuwah shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea.
Yep.
And with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river.
Yep.
And shall smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod.
When did he do it the first time? With who? Red Sea, right? So we're talking about a second time, right? Keep going.
And there shall be an highway for the remnant of his people,
To go where? Keep
which
going.
shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt.
Just like it, right? They're going to be making their way back to Israel. All right. Israel, northern tribe, Judah, southern tribe, all together. To rule out. So you're saying it's the way to separate who's Israel and who's not? Right, exactly. All right. Yep. And it's a good question. Glad you asked that. Because how will we know, for the ones who heard me say this before, no answer, How will we know who's Israel and who's not? Elijah? What do you say? Faith in Yeshua? The commandments? You got anything else? Torah. Cool. What you got? The 1,000-year reign? Actually, we're going to know before the 1,000-year reign because this whole book of Revelation is about Israel. And you're going to have to know who is Israel. How will we know? So I heard Elijah, keeping the commandments. What was the other? Faith in Yeshua. Let's go to Malachi. Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. And then if we can get Sirach too. Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. How will we know? Because this is the teaching of the two witnesses.
So Malachi chapter 4, verse 5.
Right?
Behold, I will send Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahuwah.
What is the great and dreadful day? Day of judgment? Like what type of judgment? Last book of life? Nah. Close though. I like it. He's getting sharp over there. Who said something? The great slaughter of who? His return? That judgment? All right. Anyone got something different? That's actually it. All right. So Elijah's going to return when? Before what? Before the Messiah return, right? All right, keep going.
Verse 6. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse.
So before the Messiah return, the second time, he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the children's hearts, then the hearts of the children to the father. What does that mean? It's going to let you know what tribe you're from. Let's go to Sirach. Let's get a little more understanding, clear understanding. Sirach chapter 48. Or Ecclesiasticus. The Apocrypha. Sirach chapter 48, verse 1. We're going to see what's turning the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the father. Verse 1. Sirach 48, verse 1.
Verse 1. Then stood up Elijah the prophet as fire, and his word burned like a lamp.
Right?
He brought a sore famine upon them, and by his zeal he diminished their number.
Okay. Skip down to verse 9.
Who was taken up in a whirlwind of fire,
So he was taken up in a whirlwind of fire, right? Go ahead.
and in a chariot of fiery horses,
Right?
who was ordained for reproofs in their times,
Okay.
to pacify the wrath of Yah's judgment.
What does it mean to pacify the wrath of Yah's judgment? Kind of what we read in Malachi, right? Lest I come to smite the earth with a curse. How is he going to slow it down? Like, not really slow it down, but repentance, right? So if there was 1 million, let's say 10 million people getting judged, what he's going to do is try to get that 10 million to repent, right? Judgment is coming. Repent, right? That's part of right before he pacified the wrath, right? Keep going. And what else he's going to do?
Before it break forth into fury,
Right.
and to turn the heart of the father unto the son.
Did you hear that before, right? Malachi. All right, keep going.
And to restore the tribes of Jacob.
To restore who? Which means turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the children to the heart. He's going to tell you what tribe you're from before the Messiah return. Right? And I'm going to teach a little bit more on this, right? So we would know what tribe we're from based on Elijah before that great and terrible day. Right? And we're going to get more on that with the two witnesses, what their job is. I don't know if that helps out in knowing who we are. Right. Oh, they would know. I'm going to teach on that. Teach on that. Because these plagues and something, just like Egypt, is for us to let us know, to let us go. And we're going to see why they come into the valley of Jehoshaphat and so forth. I'm going to explain all that. Yeah. It's a lot. No. So this is right. Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying. This is why it's important for you to know who we are in Revelations, who the children of Israel is. Because I'm explaining the role of the Gentiles in this and so forth. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's setting itself up. Yeah, I'm telling you, this COVID is setting the system up, right? Yeah. Right. Right. Well, when we talk about the two witnesses, they will be able to release the plagues as often as they see fit, right? So I'm gonna get into the plagues that the Most High is saying based on the two witnesses, right? So I'm gonna get a little bit more into that. This right here, it could be a plague, but not based on. I'll see it based on Revelation until the two witnesses come, because when they come, because they vex the world, and people are gonna hate them because of that. Yeah.
I want to drive back to where we was talking about the land being cleared, right?
Yep.
And that the armies of the north were coming, well, had came and cleared it. So is that the ones who were in the land? Was this when the one world order was? Was happening?
Yeah. All this is gonna be happening kind of same time.
Out of the north, is this like a secret uprising?
The army out of the north, a secret. Oh, you're talking about as far as this one world government and so forth?
This army from the north that clears this
Right.
from war. If everybody's connected in the world, then where is this army from the north stemming from? Like, who is deciding to go and get the major hand right here?
The major hand, right? Like who can war against the beast and so forth, right?
Because
right.
that is the beast that's
right,
in
right.
the land before it's cleared.
And we're gonna get into that because we know that the Messiah, when he comes, he's coming with the army of how many? 20. We talk about 200, right? And we're gonna talk about that war too.
The one that clears that land.
When the Messiah comes. So it's gonna.
From the north,
Nah, he's not the one from the north.
that one from the north.
So I don't even know. I just know it's from the north and so forth. Yes, sir.
And that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. They said it was
20.
twofold. If you go back to Jeremiah 50, let me go back to Jeremiah 50. We're talking about out of the north. So we already said, when you kind of go where, and you kind of see what is this coming about, and that's what we kind of see when you look at Neo-Persia.
Right.
So when it says now, when the first temple was destroyed, I'm sorry, it's online. Who destroyed the temple of the Most High, the first one? Who destroyed it? Which nation? The temple, the first temple. Who destroyed it? You know, but me and Mike like to ask questions. We like to get, but we don't want to. Yeah, well, you know, Nebuchadnezzar came and did what? Babylon. Remember, Babylon came and destroyed the first. They burnt it up with fire. Remember, they came and they did that to the first temple, right? The one that Solomon built. So when we go here, you mind, Brother Nick, where we saw in Jeremiah 50, where I asked Mike about, do we feel about how do we feel it's twofold? Because you got the literal time it happened as well. We can't negate that because he's prophesying that this is going to happen. Like go back to Jeremiah 27, what you read, Brother Nick, then we're going to go back to Jeremiah 50. Then we're going to answer that out of the north. Jeremiah 27, and see how long he's going to reign. Jeremiah 27, and can you read verse 7? It's talking about Nebuchadnezzar. You look at verse 1, where he's saying this one going to come and they're going to serve, and let me see how long they're going to serve him. And can you read verse 6 and 7 to get the context? Jeremiah 27, verse 6 and 7.
Verse 6.
Mm-hmm.
And now have I given all these lands into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant. And the beast of the field have I given him also to serve him.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 7. And all nations shall serve him, and his sons and his sons' sons, until the very time of his land come. And
that's how long he had kingdom reign. It reigned, remember, from Nebuchadnezzar and to his son, evil, you know, his name was Evil Merodach. And then his last grandson, well, we saw Belshazzar. Then was his son and his son's son. Those are three that reigned. And then we know who defeated Babylon. And we're going to go back to Jeremiah chapter 50 now. And we're going to see why he let you know who he put vengeance on. Can you read verse, go back to Jeremiah 50 and 27 and 28. And then let's read the first part of verse 20. Now he's going to tell you why he had to deal with this and show that it was for that time as well. Jeremiah 50, you can start at verse 27.
Verse 27.
Mm-hmm.
Slay all her bullocks. Let them go down to the slaughter. Woe unto them,
Mm-hmm.
for their day is come, the time of their visitation.
And we understand when they say the time of their visitation, I mean the time of their what? Their judgment, their destruction. And now look at verse 28. I'm going to give you the answer.
The voice of them that flee and escape out of the land of Babylon, to declare in Zion the vengeance of Yahuwah our Elohim.
And what was that vengeance?
The vengeance of his temple.
The vengeance of his temple. Because they the ones that did what? They destroyed it. So he's going to put that vengeance on, I'm going to come after y'all. And you see out of the north who was that? That was the Medes and Persians came and destroyed Babylon. There's nothing new underneath the sun. So we know that, and like we understand about like what Sister's saying here about the COVID-19 shot, we got to look at a lot of people who don't fear the Most High. They're not going to take the shot because they love America. They feel like my freedom is being, so they protesting against their constitutional rights, right? You can't force me to do something what it is. You got a lot of people who gone on that movement there. Who some even got, going to get killed behind they not wanting to do those things there. But when this actually come about, we talking about actually going against the commandment of the Most High in a sense where you're talking about this idol being worshipped here. And you kind of see like that separating on that end there because we're talking about the commandments of the Most High, rather than talking about your constitutional rights. A whole different ball game on that end. What's that? Oh, yeah, but it go like you say, it's a time frame because we know, because some people, like Brother Mike was saying, some people trying to say it's the mark of the beast it can't be the mark because it got the time frame not there yet. The false prophet that Antimus, he the one going to cause people to receive a mark to do what? To worship this first beast. That time ain't here yet.
I got a question though, that Persia only you're talking about, and then it says once that's cleared out, then we'll be back, right? And you said this is before the Messiah will bring us back. So does that mean some of us gonna be in this Persian army?
No. Remember
No,
that
no,
was
no.
to me that I mean, I let them talk about, that's where I was saying that was the first fold fulfilled. When that happened, that when remember after when the Medo-Persia, that's when Darius made a decree too to bring back who? Israel went back into the land after Babylon was destroyed. Because remember Jeremiah had to fulfill that 70 years. So that's why you saw when Judah, when you read about in the book of Ezra, when he went back into Nebuchadnezzar, when you read about Nehemiah, he built the wall. Those things was what Jeremiah 50 was fulfilling as well, that they going to come back into the land and they're going to do those things there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, we won't be a part of this until after the war's done on the second time.
That's what I was saying about twofold. That's here, to me, that's what this here was already fulfilled right there in Jeremiah 50. That's where so when Brother Mike say, that's why I asked that question, is it twofold? Because me, this here, Jeremiah 50 is dealing with that first one. And we know that had to be fulfilled there because of what Babylon actually did to the temple. So that's why you see here, out of the north, what's going to happen, and that actually did happen. Medo-Persia came and destroyed, and then the children of Israel went back to the land.
So what I was getting at as far as in Revelation, it talks about Babylon, right? So Babylon is in control. So what Brother Gerald's talking about, the Medo-Persian is ruling as a nation because they didn't go back under Babylon. They went back under the Medes and the Persian, King Cyrus. So that's when they went back to the land. Yes. Chinadu, you had a question? Oh. Oh, all right.
My question is, where will the nations who have joined with Israel be when there is when the second Exodus happens? When the two houses, the house of Israel and the house of Judah come together,
Right.
where will be the other believers who have enjoined? Yeah, where will the other believers who have joined in with Israel
Right.
be?
Where will they be?
Yeah, during the second Exodus, where we read in Isaiah 11,
Right.
the house of Israel and house of Judah being joined together.
Right. Where would they be? They would be, for those that want to join themselves to us, they would be with us.
Let's say even those who are in faith in Yeshua, but they were not from the tribe of Israel. They were not from the children of Israel or house of Judah,
Right.
but they are by faith.
By faith, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be just like the first Exodus. Nick, let's go to Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14. We'll pick it up at verse 1.
Yes, sir. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1. For Yahuwah will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel
So this is both of them, right, coming together. All right, keep going.
and set them in their own land.
All right, so when we're talking about that land, right, which hasn't happened yet, Jacob and Israel are not together in the land, right? Keep going.
And the strangers shall be joined with them.
And the strangers shall join, just like Egypt, right? All of the mixed multitude who wanted to come, because now they believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, will be joined with them. Keep going.
And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place.
So when Elijah come, right, and say, this is what tribe you're from, those who wants to cleave, the Gentiles, the strangers, they would be able to come. So whatever they I want to come with you, Zippor. All right, you can come with us, just like Egypt. And then let's go to, yeah, they know. Correct. Yes. We're going to get to that too. In the wilderness of the people, that's a whole nother teaching. But let's go to Ezekiel chapter 47 to Nick. And pick it up at verse 21. Ezekiel 47, verse 21.
Verse 21. So shall ye divide this land unto you according to the tribes of Israel.
Right?
And it shall come to pass that ye shall divide it by lot for an inheritance unto you.
So this is Israel, right? When they say this is your father, when you get to the land, this is the land of Zebulun. This is the land of Naphtali. This is the land, and so forth. Go, keep going.
And to the strangers that sojourn among you, which shall beget children among you, and they shall be unto you as born in the country among the children of Israel.
So all the strangers, right, the Gentiles that believe in the same God, the Messiah as you, that wants to go with you, they would be like natural born Israelites. All right. Yeah, that's Christianity type, right? Yeah, yeah. Because they don't know who the people are. Yeah. So because they think the people currently in the land who doesn't believe in the Messiah is going to be, yeah. Right. Yeah, it's for the 1,000 years they'll be in heaven, right? That's the teaching. Is that the one we talk about the same thing? Yeah.
They hold that
Yeah.
they're gonna go to heaven for the Lamb's Supper. And then when they return, they're gonna return with him to the earth. So they're not gonna go through the tribulation.
No, everyone goes. We just found that out that, you know, that some of the saints who have the testimony of Yeshua and the commandments is going to be killed, right? So we already know that. Yeah.
That's probably gonna be a secret to that.
Yeah, I heard of that. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like that that movie. What's the name of that movie? Left Behind. Where all of a sudden they just close. It's all of a sudden it's on the floor and they just gone. You know? Everyone goes through the tribulation. No one, no secret rapture, nothing like that. Yes, sir.
If you read the book of Joshua, 81, verses 53 to 62, right? Can you understand?
81, 62, 52.
52 to 62.
So 81.
52. Oh, 62, I'm sorry. 81, 62. 52, all right. And 62, okay. Oh, that's a lot, man, that's a lot.
That's a lot. It's all good.
Let me get that. All right.
All right. The book of Jasher, chapter 81, verse 52. And when the children of Israel were in Rephidim, Amalek, the son of Eliphaz, the son of Esau, the brother of Zepho, came to fight with Israel. And he brought with him 801,000 men, magicians and conjurers, and he prepared for battle with Israel in Rephidim. And they carried on a great and severe battle against Israel. And Yahuwah delivered Amalek and his people into the hands of Moses and the children of Israel, and into the hand of Joshua the son of Nun, the Ephrathite, the servant of Moses. And the children of Israel smote Amalek and his people at the edge of the sword. But the battle was very sore upon the children of Israel. And Yahuwah said unto Moses, write this thing as a memorial for thee in a book, and place it in the hand of Joshua, the son of Nun, thy servant. And thou shalt command the children of Israel, saying, when thou shalt come to the land of Canaan, thou shalt utterly efface the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. And Moses did so. And he took the book and wrote upon it these words, saying, remember what Amalek has done to thee in the road when thou wentest forth from Egypt, who met thee in the road and smote thy rear, even those that were feeble behind thee when thou wast faint and weary. Therefore it shall be when Yahuwah thy Elohim shall have given thee rest from all thy enemies round about in the land which Yahuwah thy Elohim giveth thee for an inheritance, to possess it, that thou shalt blot out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. Thou shalt not forget it. And the king who shall have pity on Amalek, or upon his memory, or upon his seed, behold, I will require it of him, and I will cut him off from amongst his people. And Moses wrote all these things in a book, and he enjoined the children of Israel respecting all these matters.
You go back to Exodus 17, verse 16, it says the same thing. Line by line.
You say Exodus 16.
17.
Exodus 17, verse 16. For he said, because Yah had sworn that Yahuwah will have war with Amalek from generation to generation.
You need context of verse 14, bro.
Yes. Yep.
You can go to Numbers too.
Yep.
Hallelujah.
Yes, sir. All right. Thank you for your time. You can go ahead and pray out.
Yeah, yeah.